welcome here at this presentation. I am Marco Rossi. I'm a local from here, from Barcelona. I work at Glassworks, which is a small studio that is here in Barcelona. And then I will talk today about building complexity from simplicity and what that means. Okay, what it means is just to present some of the a series of relatively simple techniques that I use to build some more complex things, so we can achieve a very rich and attractive visual. This is what I want to show you. Okay, but first of all, I want to show this little reel of our studio, so you can just have a taste of what is the kind of work that we do. Thank you. So what do we do at Glassworks? We do commercials. We do also long format, which is basically movies and also TV shows. But we have also a special project department called HIVE Labs, which develops that kind of post-production things that are outside of the traditional way of doing this, such as interactive, such as virtual reality, such as holograms and mappings, and that kind of things. Okay, now I will just talk about me briefly. So this is me, how I started, and just worried about AI. Well, I started my career as a generalist, doing all kinds of things. Slowly, I was just starting to do more things like animation, character rigging, and these kind of things. At a certain point, I started to move my interest and my production from these kind of things to more interest in VFX, more things in VFX. And then today, I like to define myself as a generalist with a technical profile. I have a strong bias in VFX. I like it very much, really. What does it mean to be a generalist? Well, it means that you can be doing one kind of job in one project, but it could be switched to other things. Like you can do simulation, maybe you, on another project, are doing crowds, then maybe you are doing procedural modeling. It depends on the project. One of the things that I like to do in Houdini is tool building, which is something that I do a lot of in Glassworks. Also, to use them for the other artists. I develop the things, and then we can just use in the project. Okay, the first show that I worked on Houdini was A Monster Call. On this show, there was this creature that at a certain point gets angry and starts to destroy this building. We used Houdini to do the destruction, to do also the smoke, the dust that comes from all the parts. I started to work in the pyro. It was my first thing that I worked in Houdini, without knowing really how Houdini worked. Just like, okay, I have the opportunity in this production to get inside, so let's do it. I do not recommend to start with Pyro. There is a much easier way to start Houdini. Right now my main tool to work is Houdini. I just use it on an everyday basis. So it's my tool of choice, basically. Okay, this is the project that I want to talk to today. It's called Symphony. It was developed at Xavi's lab at Glassworks, and it's in virtual reality, which means that, we will see here something that is not really what the people that goes to the show really experience, because we will have a fixed camera and we will not be able to move the head to see all the things. I think that this fits very well in the motion graphics world. This is why I bring it here. And the goal of this show is to transport us to classic music through creativity and technology, which I think is something very beautiful. It was directed by Javier Verdugo and Carlos Cortez, and my job in this was to develop the forest shot, which is this one. You see that this shot has quite a complex, I will say, visual. You see that there are a lot of things happening. The forest here is just growing with a lot of lights. And the goal here was to bring the viewer to see the music, to hear the music, and also feel how the forest was in sync with the music. So you not only feel it with the audio, but see also how it reacts. To do this shot, I break it in basically 3 parts. One is the ground, the grass, which is like moving like a sea. And then we have the trees, which have our main role here, because they are like growing from the ground. And then there is the sky dome, which will be like an explosion of light. Okay, so we'll start with the easy part. This is the grass. The goal here was to have very organic and nice movement that was like if we were underwater. But also, at certain points, the music will make it react. Like the drums or the strings will have a reaction over the grass. Okay. This part was done with very standard Houdini tools. There's nothing really special here. You can see just the geometry. The goal here really was to have a bunch of lines, of splines that were to stick to the ground and add a little bit of variation, so we could have a point to start with. We use the standard Houdini tools with noise and with just the typical things. So once we have this, we just add a volume solver, which is the solver of choice here, and add a bit of a turbulence here with just a pop solver, which is a solver for a pop force, which is a node that it works for particles. But because volume is made of particles, we can move also. It's like everything that is a point could be used. This is the first thing that we have. As you can see, it's moving slowly with a turbulence and nicely. Well, this is a very simplistic version of it, but it will help. So how can we just move this with the music? Well, I use it also a very typical Houdini tool, which is using geometry that you build and then use it to move it around the scene and compute the velocity vectors that will help us to move the grass. How we do that? We just convert them to VDB, which is a VDB volume, which is also a very common way. And once we have the video converted, we can make it, we can just enter it to the volume solver, and with pop advect, we can just move the points inside the volume. So you see here that we have this. We just enter in the volume solver, attach it to the pop acted volume, and then we have this that has the turbulence and then has the geometry that is pushing. These setups are quite fast to do. Okay, this is the real setup. What I show you here is just a simplified version. This is the one that was in production. As you may see, there are a few more nodes. This is because depending on the length and depending on where the grass was, I used different curl volumes, curl forces, and also the stiffness of the splines to make it behave in a different way. You could see here, which is a preview of the real thing in the production. So you can see that they are moving much better. It's not the same thing on the top that on the base, and that's because of the stiffness that I changed it. And also, I show you now, this is with this system, added the music, so you can see here that there are two kinds of beats that affect the grass. One is the drums that make this movement like maybe white. It's like white. That is concentric to the trees. And then there is the strings that move in blue on top of the grass. This was made with this system. Okay, just a note about the size of the simulation. You could see here the viewer, which is the one that has the glasses. The simulation has to be really big because the viewer is in a really wide open space where everything is happening. Obviously, I have to prepare the thing in a way that the grass closest to the viewer were more detailed, and the grass that was more far away was, well, not so detailed. You can see here the whole thing, and if you put the same color, well, it blends better. Okay, now the tricky part. Trees. Trees are organic and complex things. So I wanted to search a way to just have all the shape and the details of the trees. We don't. I don't put it all the elements of the tree. We get rid of the leaves, but what is the trunk and the branches, I wanted to have them all. So we get a 3D model. So we didn't model the tree inside Houdini. We bring it a 3D model. And then the goal was to just put some curves that go from the root to the branches, to all the little branches. So we can capture all the shape and the details of the tree. How can we do that? Well, there is a tool in Houdini that is called Find Shortest Path, which if you have a surface that is connected and you just select 2 points, one is the source and one is the target, it can just find a path to connect them. This was the element of choice to do it. So how can we do that? Okay, this is the 3D model. As you may see, this comes from the internet. It has a lot of geometry. The geometry is not connected. Geometry may be bad. I don't know. It just you cannot work with this. If you try to do the algorithm here, it will not work. So we have to prepare the geometry. What we can do? Okay, this one thing that we can do, that is to transfer the geometry to a VDB. The VDBs are volumes, and when one volume is near the other, they blend. So I just prepared the geometry, get rid of what I don't wanted, which is the leaves, basically. And then, as you can see here, the detail is, I separated the parts that were more thin that they were more thicker. So the problem with VDB is if you just try to convert this one to VDB, it will lose detail. So I used just a trick with the measure thickness tool to just select only the thinnest parts and make them bigger. So with them bigger, the VDB will work better, and then we will have the whole thing. So we can convert it just to polygons, and we'll have only one mesh with everything. Okay, so what we do now? What we do need now is a bunch of points on top of the tree and a bunch of points on the roots of the tree. How can we do that? We can do it by one, which will be just a hell. Or what we can do is just use also a calculate thickness to get only the smallest parts of the tree. In this way, we have selected only the small parts. We can delete everything else, and we have a bunch of polygon islands that are on the tip of the branches. So what we can do with this is just repack this information, so every single island of polygons is transformed in only one point. So in this way, we just have like a bunch of points that are on the tip. We reproject these points on the geometry, so we can transfer this point information to the points of the mesh, of the final mesh, and we have the target group. In this way, you can see we have all the points that we want to arrive. Now we need to just select the base points, the points that are on the source. We just select a bunch of points randomly, it's no problem. Yeah. And then with just a little trick, we can have X expression that counts the number of points at the tip of the tree, and we can have the same number of points at the root and on the branches. So this is how we can get all the points to make the algorithm work. Now we run the algorithm, and we have this beautiful tree. Well, not that beautiful. If you take a look, what happens, also because I just run it in a standard way, without making too much things, we have lines that come from the root to the tips, but they are like very coincident. It's not really working. So what we can do is just use a trick, which is use a detangle node and then smooth it, so we can get a non-overlapping curves, which will give us a better shape. Still not the good ones that we need, but with another process, which is adding a little bit of noise, high frequency and low frequency. We could have a bunch of lines right now. Now is working correctly. That goes from the root to the top. So we can just. This is the final mesh. So you can see that it really is working. So this is the finished modeling of the tree, just going from a 3D model. Well, then we can just animate it. How we can animate? Well, this standard tool, this is Carve, which we can use. You can see a difference between the left and the right, because the one in the right is the standard tool in Houdini, and the left is one that is just a VEX code that lets us just make the splines to be animated separately. So it's a bit more organic. Okay, then we have this example of just on the left, we have the final tree. We transform them with VDB to only one object. We feed it to a Vellum solver, and then we can use it to make like a rigid body, like a soft body, so we can move it. And then we just bring it back to the original tree with the point deformer. Well, there is also an additional benefit here from working this way, because we have the lines that go in the direction that we want, and we can use the same technology, the same tool that we use it to move the grass, to move particles. We use the lines here to convert to VDB, using the direction that they go, so we can push the particles through the trunk and the leaves of and the branches of the tree. Okay, now the sky dome. As you see here, the sky dome has a branch-like structure that is really built in the same way that we did before with the shortest path algorithm. The difference is that we do not use one point to one point, but one point to many points. Also, to make the color, to make the explosion of light, I used an infection, which is an algorithm that let us just move the color in a very organic way. I don't know how to define it. You can see here how it's working. On the original project, this was done in VEX. I coded everything to do that. Right now, we have a nice node that is called PyroSpread that does exactly the thing. This is done with the PyroSpread, so you don't have to know VEX or coding or things like that to get this effect. It's just tweaking a little bit it. Okay, the very same thing is used on the trees to make them have light that travels through the tree. This is the same thing. And I also used this very thing to make in the grass that the color of the drums go farther away than the force was able to push them. So we infected the parts that were moving with the bass, with the drums, and they move it away without getting affected. Okay. So the way to do just to select the points in the sky is that we can, just using an infection, use a time shift node that lets us just go to rewind or to go fast forward in time. And in this way, we could have a bunch of points that are from the first ring to the second ring to the third ring and so on. And the result of this, oh, sorry, there's only one thing more that we have to do. Because we started with a bunch of points, we need to make them like a surface for the shortest path to work. So I just coded this little thing. I don't remember if I coded it or I just grabbed it from the internet, probably the last one. But basically what this does is just searches in every point if it is neighborhood, its closest points, and then connects them with a line. You can do the same thing with a tool called Plexus in the AE library. I don't know if this is the correct word to say. But basically, what you see is that you have a surface that could be then used in the shortest path. And this is what we get. Connecting all the things, we have just a point when it is the origin, and we have a beautiful ramification that goes to all the sky dome. We can animate it with a curve, and adding a little bit of flickering and color, we have just this beautiful evolution of the sky. Okay, so we have now all the pieces. There are a few more, but they are not so complicated, like particle floating and things like that. Okay, so we can just grab them out and see what's the resulting visual.
Wood and metal alone are not enough to create music. The third element is the most important. The soul. The very source of the burning desire to love. The ability to feel. From where the essential need to communicate with others arises.
So I apologize for my English. I hope that the talk was understood. And if you have any questions.
Any questions for Marco? Of course, it has to be in the back row. No. It's all right. Gotta get the calories off.
Hey, buddy. I don't know why you apologize for your English. It was flawless. What's your favorite thing to do in Houdini, do you think?
My favorite thing to do?
Yeah.
I like to investigate tools and build things. This is what I like to do. And also, I like to move from one thing to other. Like, if I'm working in crowds for a few months, then when I have all the things working and the shots are finished, it's like, okay, that's done. I would like to move to other things, like simulation or like procedural modeling or things like that. Yeah. From my mindset, it's very fun to just be doing different things. Yeah.
I think there was one in the front. Somewhere around here, I think. Yes.
A mí también me gustó tu inglés. I have a question about how did you start in this business and how did you decide to begin doing this and not other kinds of art or other kinds of 3D modeling and multimedia creations?
I started in this business like long ago. The first photo that you have seen is this like 30 years ago. I started because at the time when I started, they needed computer scientists to work with computers like that. And I just ended my college and entered in a company that was searching this kind of people, but not to do programming, but to just use the machines, because the machines were awfully horrible to work with. So it's like very far away. And I really, at first, I didn't choose what to do because it is like I do what I was told. But then I started to work in animation because I love it, like character animation and all these things on rigging. And then I just realized that I was not that good animator, so I have to move. And I started to get very interested in visual effects, in this kind of thing. And then I landed to Houdini, which I think I will stay forever.
Muchas gracias.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Shumbin from Pula Studios. I saw you a picture there that you were a bit scared of AI, so I wanted to tackle a little bit on that subject because everybody's talking about AI these days, and I wanted to know how do you feel about AI and the future of it into Houdini, and are you utilizing any of it at all these days?
Okay, I don't know how to feel about this matter really, because I just read a feed about artificial intelligence. Every day that I open it, I just get scared because every day there's something new that is like mind-blowing. It's like, oh, wow. So I'm just like a bit expecting what happens, and a little bit worried really, but I don't know where it will finish all this. The other question was?
The other question was, are you utilizing
using
any of the tools into Houdini?
Well, I tried some things into Houdini with the envelopes, I think it's called. But I just tried a few things, not really. I use Stable Diffusion just for the fun of it, but I'm not using it in production, if that's what you're talking about.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hey, you mentioned earlier that Pyro is like a bad place to start for a beginner, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which segment of Houdini would you begin with if you were a
Well, I will say that if you want to start with Houdini, you go to what they call it, the sub-context, which is where the geometry is built. So you understand how the geometry is built, which is very visual, and you also understand how the information goes from one node to the other. For me, the problem when I was starting with Pyro is that we have different contexts. I have to model. The models come from the modeling context with the sub-context, but there was the other context, there was the DOP context, which is where the simulations were done. And I didn't understand how they were really connected. It's like you have to put this name, you have to connect. Right now, this is very simple because they are bringing all together to the sub-context, which I appreciate very much, really. As a generalist, I imagine that if I work all day in explosions, I will not care. But because I'm moving, I appreciate that. So I will say that you start just building geometry, which is very fun, and then everything will come later. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
At breakfast this morning, we were joking about how if you want to get into fitness, you want to get into shape, you start with CrossFit. You know, that would be like getting into Pyro first, going in there and like starting to lift heavy tires and whatever. Whereas, you know, SOPS is like learning how to ride a bike. Like start with cycling, do some cycling and build yourself up from there. Maybe someday you do some CrossFit. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you to you for having me here.